lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, not likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
What is up, Steeler Nation? Welcome to the post-game show. I'm Daniel J., your host. This is State of the Steelers. And what a game, guys. What a game. Steeler fan comes in first in the live chat, taking the words out of my mouth. What a game. Man, so Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be in rare midseason form when it comes to the heart attacks. First last week, Kenny Pickett takes him down to a near walk-off touchdown. And then this game goes down to the wire on a missed field goal for the victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, kind of recap this. So, in this, what we do in this episode of the post-game show is I'm going to recap a little bit of what I saw during the game, kind of give you guys my knee-jerk reaction, so to speak, talk about some winners, some losers, and then, answer some questions in the live chat. So, first things first, a couple things that I saw from the game that I took from the game was that Mitch Trubisky can move. He's very agile. He's mobile. He was able to, his pocket awareness was on point. The way he was able to dodge in and out of the pocket and get out of some of these sacks were impressive. I think he played fairly well. It was unfortunate that he couldn't capitalize on his drives. Boswell had a rare missed field goal where it dinged off the upright there. And so, to start off the game, it was a little, I guess, rusty, so to speak. Boswell didn't play last game. And so it was good to see him in there and get a 50-yarder. Hey, what's going on in the green TV? And Patricia, great seeing you guys in the live chat. Please, guys, can you hit that like and subscribe button, by the way? We're so close to 500. We're just a couple of people away. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, the Pittsburgh Steelers make the playoffs. We'll be giving away two tickets to a playoff home game if they host the game to a subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. But back to what I was saying. It was unfortunate they weren't able to capitalize. You can tell there was a little bit of rust there. I had anticipated that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to play Mitch Trubisky almost the first half. And the reason being was I thought if the Steelers were going to start Mitch Trubisky come week one, that he needed to gain some kind of cohesiveness and build some a relationship with the offense. The last game, Pat Freiermuth, Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, they were all out. And so this game, you had more of your core offensive players or the starters. Najee Harris was still out, but outside of him, everybody that you're expecting to see was in there. And so what I took from it was just there's some concerns there on the offensive line. James Daniels, he was the free agent out of Chicago that the Pittsburgh Steelers picked up. And, he was supposed to be the anchor there and supposed to be the guy. And for whatever reason, he's just not doing it for us. He seems to be confused or just to be out of position in a lot of these plays. And something needs to change because we need him to be that anchor. He's supposed to be the captain of this offensive line. One other thing that I noticed as well was Dan Moore is continually getting beat. I know it's his second year or whatnot, but this is something that, in my opinion, is becoming a little bit concerning. And so, Mason Cole looks good. I thought we saw a little bit more of Kendrick Green with the first unit than I expected. But when Kevin Dotson was in there, there was a play that I recall seeing where I think it was a screen off to the right. He just wasn't fast enough to get out there in the outside to get in front like Kendrick Green is. He's just more athletic and more of a faster interior lineman that can get out there and get in space. And so I've been kind of saying this all offseason that I think Kendrick Green has a leg up in this, left guard battle position. And tonight, I think he kind of showed it. I think he played a little bit better than Kevin Dotson tonight. Kevin Dotson didn't get to a couple places. Not that Kevin Dotson played horrible or bad. It's just I think that Crendy Green did have a leg up this evening. Now, a couple of other things that I noticed was Snell, man, he looks slow. He looks real slow. It wasn't until Kenny Pickett got into the game that Snell looked like he belonged on the field. With Mitch Trubisky out there, he just looked so slow. He couldn't run. He couldn't do any of those things, and so it was just really, really concerning. And I think that Jaylen Warren may be surpassing Benny Snell on the roster and on the depth chart, and maybe kicking Benny Snell off. I mean, he did have that big hit in the punt return game on the punt returner there, but and I get he caught the touchdown pass from Kenny Pickett. However, when Mitch Trubisky was in there and they weren't playing a 2-minute offense and they were playing more of a traditional style offense, Benny Snell just kind of stood out as being too slow. He looked like he was a guy who, looked like he was running in sand almost. And so I think that one of the winners for tonight is going to be Jaylen Warren. I think he played well. He played aggressive. He played fast. He was able to get positive yards. And I was very impressed with the young man. And so, on the defensive side as well, as the starters were in one, T.J. Watt also appears to be in midseason form as he got a sack on the while he was out there. And one other thing that I noticed is Larry Ogunjobi's presence was known. When he was on the field, he was around the ball carrier, whether it was a running back or being around any time they were doing a screen or anything like that. Ogunjobi was there, and his presence was known. He was on the field. Him and Jack were in a lot of tackles. I don't have the stats. It's pretty, the game's pretty fresh, so I'm not sure if they're all out there yet. But the tackles and the tackles for losses and stuff like that, or solo tackles, I'm sorry, between Larry Ogunjobi and Miles Jack they're probably going to be high. Those two guys played very well. Devin Bush, he was getting pushed around a little bit also. I noticed that. I noticed he also just doesn't show up. I don't ever see him out there. That guy is still a concern for me. Now, as the game went on, what I did notice also on the defense, though, was Terrell Edmonds. Terrell Edmonds played very solid against the run. I broke down a video earlier in this offseason referencing the run defense, and we broke down the game against the Minnesota Vikings. And there was a couple plays in there where we saw Terrell Edmonds put in a position where he had to react or think, or so to speak, and make a decision. And when he did so, he either hesitated and the running back got around him, or he made the wrong choice and over pursued. And so in tonight's game, what I noticed from him was his ability to he was in the backfield. He was a lot, and he was hitting the running backs. He played very solid. I think he took a step forward. I know that the defense is going to get criticized a lot because the Jags first string offense was running or passing all over him. But, this is the preseason. The Steelers were playing a basic zone defense, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were, playing simple. We have a simple zone defense going up against, crossers that are designed to beat the zone. It really doesn't matter who you are out there. It's going to, as long as you can play accurate football, you're going to be able to move the ball down the field. There was no scheme behind what the Pittsburgh Steelers were doing in coverage. And so I'm not too concerned about that aspect. In fact, I think Cam Sutton and Miles Jack both could have gotten a couple of interceptions there. And perhaps if the scheme was a little bit different, if they were trying to hide some things and not put so much stuff on tape there, then the Steelers probably maybe confused Lawrence a little bit more or are in a better position to make those interceptions. And so I'm not too concerned about that. What I focus more on is just kind of the trenches, because that's important. And, one other guy that I thought played extremely well tonight was DeMarvin Leal. He was very good. He was tough. He is active around the ball. He was making plays in the big moments. He was in at the on a big play towards the end of the game, I believe. And so he looked great out there. Larry Ogunjobi, again, he looked great. Um, Jannard Avery, he's a guy that surprised me. I've been talking a lot this offseason about the outside linebacker position, um, and how I'm concerned about the depth. And what I noticed with Jannard Avery is like his get off is really good. Like he was fast. He was hitting. He's so explosive off the line, and it's just I think he might be perhaps that third outside linebacker I've been harping for. Just kind of hadn't shown up because he took some. He was injured early in the off season. He didn't take part in many. Was it in mini camp? He did come in training camp, but he was off and on from what I remember. And so finally being able to see him in varsity setting, I was highly impressed with him, and so he got a plus for me as well. And so I'm gonna look into the chat real quick before I continue. Let's see what we got going on. So Steelers Freak says 24 rushing yards with quarterbacks under consistent assault. The O-line is just as bad as last year. Only difference is quarterbacks aren't freaking bad. You do have a point there, Steelers Freak. I wasn't not impressed with the offensive line, especially on with James Daniels and also with Dan Moore. I was just those two guys I thought were going to take another step in this game. And in my opinion, they didn't. Now, credit due where credit is needed. The front seven for the Jacksonville Jaguars are impressive. They have, top first round picks in the front seven. And so, they are going to be a tougher defensive line to go up against. And that matchup may not favor the Pittsburgh Steelers, but some of the issues that I saw out there were like one-on-one situations where Dan Moore's getting bull rushed or James Daniels is looking confused. Those situations are concerning, and those need to be fixed before the regular season comes into play. Let's see. Ariel 75 says anchor. How about the weak link? Yeah, it's that's what it's looking like at this point. Let's see. Jaime Garza says, "What's up, homie? What's going on, Jaime? Hope you're having a great night. Hope you enjoyed the game." Let's see. Anchor Ariel 75 says, "Snell is a complete opposite of Austin. Dude is slower than a turtle." I agreed. I agree. Let's see. We'll go through a few more of these before we get into some of the, I guess what everybody's waiting to hear about Kenny Pickett and my thoughts on him. Steelers Nation says it's not a good game. Shouldn't have won. Have to do better. I agree. The first string offensive line just played pretty poor. The third down seemed to be an issue for both sides of the ball. I noticed that on the defensive side, when they did play well, it was going to be on first and second down, and they just couldn't get off the ball or off the field on third down. And so it was a tough game. It could have gone either way. However, I think that, and we'll get into it now, the star of the night was Kenny Pickett. His ability to come in, some of the criticisms of his game from the first exhibition game was that, he wasn't pushing the ball down the field. He was playing a simple offense. He wasn't doing anything extravagant. He just kind of let the receivers do the work for him. And in this game, he kind of, in my opinion, shut down the naysayers, because what he did was he was poised. He was decisive. He pushed the ball down the field when he needed to. And in his first drive, had it not been for that holding penalty that pushed him back, he was put in a situation where it was a second and long, third and long situation, and he was able to push the ball down the field. And like I said, if it weren't for that holding penalty, that drive continues. Now, for the second week in a row, he shows that he has that it factor, that not being shaken by the moment or the pressure. And he had a drive in a less than a 2-minute situation that in all realities resulted in 2 touchdown passes. One that was called back because of a hold on Dan Moore that he had to do because the defense the guy was offsides, the defensive end there, the pass rusher was offsides. And if Dan Moore didn't hold, Kenny Pickett would have gotten killed. However, if that play is run at a normal speed and pace and Dan Moore does, that defensive rusher doesn't get off the ball fast and Dan Moore gets an opportunity to block him at an appropriate time, he's going to give Kenny Pickett the time he needs, and that play is going to develop as it did, and that's going to be a touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson. And, it was not called back. The play was done over because of offsetting penalties there, and he hits Benny Snell in the flat and, and what impressed me about that situation was, as I was talking earlier about Benny Snell looking like, a snail and looking very slow. Benny Snell didn't look like a faster guy, but he looked like an elevated player. His looked like Kenny Pickett elevated the players' abilities around him. Snell went in there, had a diving touchdown he caught the ball from Kenny Pickett. Now, what I would have wanted to see more of, which is more Kenny Pickett. I wish he would have came in more in the third quarter. I thought the Steelers would have wanted to see him in another setting outside of just 2-minute drill, because the way defenses play an offense when they're going up against a 2-minute drill, and also the way an offense is attacking a defense in a 2-minute drill setting is different than in a normal game speed of the ebb and flow of normal game speed, right? And so I would have liked to have seen more of that. I think perhaps maybe the Steelers thought, well, we've seen enough of what we need to see in Kenny Pickett. Maybe this battle there is for Mason Rudolph and Trubisky to see maybe one of them might be getting shipped out sooner than later. Probably, I think everybody would like that to be Mason. However, if you think about it, if the Steelers were to, not saying that they are, but if the Steelers were to start Kenny Pickett, wouldn't you want the best trade value possible? And so I think Trubisky might give the Steelers that. But yeah, that's just food for thought of me thinking out loud in that situation. However, but back to what I was saying, Kenny Pickett, he is playing extremely impressive, and I was talking to a friend of mine on Twitter named Trevor. Shout out to you, Trevor. And I was telling him, I was like, I'm so glad that the NFL slept on the quarterback position this year and allowed him to fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20, because he is showing that he is definitely playing as a quarterback that should have been picked significantly higher than what he was, and is a huge steal in the draft. I'm super impressed with him. In the next game, we'll see how this week unravels. We'll see if Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph are still on the team. But I anticipate the Pittsburgh Steelers probably playing Chris Oladokun in some amount in the next game. That's why he got some reps this past week. I think it was in preparation for this upcoming game. And so I think that last season the Steelers sat the number 1 and number 2 quarterback, which was Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph, in the final preseason game. If they sit 1 and 2 and that ends up being Mitch and Kenny, then I can anticipate Mason Rudolph starting for one half and then Chris Oladokun taking over for a half. But before we get into next week's game, let's finish this one. What Mason came in the second half, surprising to me. I was pretty shocked. Like I said, I wanted to see more Pickett in a normal flow game setting, playing against the 2, so to speak. We didn't get to, but it is what it is. So what I saw out of Mason was he was, again, very consistent, very much the same guy that he has been. He is pushing the ball a little bit more down the field, down the sideline, but nothing really down the middle of the field. I still see the same Mason that we saw last season. I see a game style or a flow or play scheme, whatever you want to call it, that is similar to last season with Ben Roethlisberger. And I don't see it working. And Pittsburgh Steelers, what he was able to do is move the ball down the field. And he impressed at the end. He was able to get the the touchdown in that clutch moment to Tyler Snead there in the corner, which in my opinion maybe could have or potentially increased his trade value, but we'll see. Uh, he impressed as well. He didn't do too bad. He took a safety, throwing the ball away. He needs to probably throw that ball a little bit. I know he was under duress and under pressure, but you know, if you know where the play is going and you know that you have a receiver going up the field and you have your running back going out to the flat underneath, you can throw out of bounds or the same velocity or the same trajectory throw, just angle it out more further to the right in front of the running back and not take a safety, just kind of flinging it out there in the manner that he did in the middle of nowhere. It shows me that, the awareness of where the players are on the field. It's a question there. But, outside of that play, he was backed up with a questionable offensive line that had been playing extremely questionable. I think he played solid. He played consistent. It's just, like I said, everything you want to get out of a QB two. Sorry, I don't agree with you there in the green TV, him saying that Mason should be QB1. I think Mason is a QB1 capable quarterback, that he is a starter quarterback in the NFL. I just do not see him playing above what Mitch Trubisky has done and or Kenny Pickett. One thing that I noticed, speaking on that, is Mitch Trubisky's ability to move in the pocket and run is more fluid. It's more natural. Mason doesn't look natural and fluid when he's running. He looks uncomfortable. He looks bulky. He looks like he's doing something that he's not comfortable doing with. And, he's not going to be able to, fulfill a position within the game plan. He's going to be not an issue, but it's going to be like trying to fit a square peg in a circle hole, so to speak. And so, he did well. He did good. He just, I think that the other quarterbacks on the team are a little bit better than he is. Let's see. What else do we have before I get into my conversation or get into the live chat again and answer some of your questions? One of the concerns I did have was, and one of the thoughts that I had as far as Kenny Pickett goes, and I can't wait for Tomlin's press conference to hear on it, is if, why Kenny Pickett only had 2 drives. I understand the showcase of Mason Rudolph, this, that, and the third. However, I did see him rotating his left arm and favoring it after a big hit. So I'm just kind of concerned a little bit about that and hope that he's okay. But, I'm just kind of concerned at that. Is why he only played 2 drives. If he ends up not starting, I don't anticipate the Steelers are going to play him the next game in the preseason finale. And if Mitch Trubisky ends up starting the entire season, this may be the last time we see Kenny Pickett in action until next year. So it's just kind of like a little disheartening that, as a fan, not to be able to see more of him. But hopefully, perhaps maybe he'll get some more reps with the ones. Like I've said it before, Mitch Trubisky hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to have himself be stamped the number 1 quarterback. He was a number 2 QB last season. It's been over 20 months since he's been a starter in a regular season game. And so, in my opinion, I get it. He had the early on success with the Chicago Bears, having a debut as a Pro Bowl season in one of his first 2 years there, and he led his team to a playoff game. But that was over almost half a decade ago. The NFL is a what have you done for me lately kind of league, and lately Mitch Trubisky hasn't done more than what Mason Rudolph has done, which is back up a quarterback. And so, in my opinion, he hasn't done anything to get him that, stamp saying that he is the automatic day 1 starter. And so we'll see. I mean, it's very rare that the first quarterback overall drafted in an NFL draft doesn't start at any point in the season. I think Kenny Pickett's time might be sooner than later. One other thing that I had noticed was that it wasn't until I believe Kenny Pickett got into the game that George Pickens wasn't even targeted. I felt that was kind of odd. I felt that with the game that he had last week that he may have been targeted a little bit more or given some more time out there. But he did have a presence out there, and he was out there. Maybe the Steelers don't want to put too much tape on him. Who knows? But at this point, I'm going to take a couple of questions or comments from the live chat, and then I'm going to give it a close. The Pittsburgh Steelers win on a very close game on a missed field goal. Let me know what you guys think. Let's run through this. Let's see. Hey, Michael O'Malley, I'm glad you can make it. I hope Mark I was listening in on his live show. He was getting he's in mid-season form as well, getting super hyped up every time the Steelers scored a touchdown. So we got some stats here. Jay says, meanwhile, Rudolph was 17 for 21, 127 yards and a touchdown. Let's keep praising Pickett. Yeah, Mason did do well. It's just like I mentioned before, the average, yard per, for each one of those passes wasn't very far. He a lot of dumb passes, but he does play what the defense is giving him. I never said that he's not a starter capable quarterback or not a good quarterback for this league. I just don't think he's the best quarterback or the option for this team. What Pickett was able to do in the final minutes of this half and in the last game is impressive, and I think that is giving him the opportunity to show more of his abilities. Mason Rudolph has been given a fair shake. He's been given an opportunity to be a starting quarterback for the Steelers going back to 2019. And, he's been given time, and he's doing fairly well with what he's been given. It's just when it comes to the eye test, I think that Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky both are a little bit ahead of Mason Rudolph. But I don't think that Mason deserves the hate or any of the boos or any of those things. I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's just like I said, the bar there, in my opinion, it's just not there as far as the line. Let's see. Jay says, yeah, a good showcase for a trade, I guess. It's impossible, but we'll see. I mean, Omar Khan came out on the Pat McAfee show earlier this week and kind of put to rest that, saying that he doesn't anticipate or intend to in trading any of the quarterbacks in the room. Let's see. Let's go through this. Ariel says we should make Mitch play with the third team and see how that goes. It's only fair. That's true. That is true. He's the only one that hasn't been able to do it. One thing, like I said, both Mitch and Kenny Pickett, what they've been able to do with the third string offense and drive them down the field, it's impressive. They are truly battling it out. Mason Rudolph is not giving up on this battle and not giving up, his positioning or his attempt to be a QB1 or show the NFL that he can be a QB1. It's a really good battle, and it's only going to make whoever the starter is in week one a better quarterback, in my opinion. Let's see. Steelers fan says Mason. Let's see what else we have on here. Okay, Michael Malley says O-line definitely wasn't getting any push this week. No, they really weren't. In fact, they were going backwards on a couple of plays. One thing, like I said, that I did notice out there, though, was that Kevin Dotson played significantly less snaps with the first team than Kendrick Green. But I did see them, going back and forth throughout the entire game. In fact, I think towards the end of the game, Green was back in there, and I think he took a lot more snaps than Dotson. So I think the Steelers are giving Kendrick Green every opportunity to win that battle. Let's see. Jay says Seattle, Detroit trade partners, maybe. I mean, those things that are possible. But here's the thing, and it doesn't get a lot of talk out there, is what What are the Steelers going to get in Mason Rudolph? Mason Rudolph is a cheap quarterback on a 1-year contract that he agreed to sign and play on. So he's not being disgruntled about it. He's not holding in. He's not doing anything else. He's a starter capable quarterback. In my opinion, next season, when he does become a free agent, he's going to go to a team that's looking for a quarterback, a starter, somewhere that he can play, whether it's be the guy or be a bridge guy or whatever the case may be. But him and his agent are going to try to put him in a position to be the guy somewhere. And that's going to bring value for the Pittsburgh Steelers, as that can potentially be a comp pick in the draft. And so when you get a comp pick, if he ends up being a starter or a guy somewhere, I mean, that can be upwards to, fourth, third round pick, somewhere around there. And so, given how cheap his contract is, and given how much he knows the offense and how comfortable or how much cohesiveness he might have in the team and everything else that goes along with that, it might be in the best interest for the Steelers to keep him. Like I said, he's not going to cost much, and it might be one of those situations where his value may go up at the end of the season, thus bringing them a much higher trade value versus getting rid of them this year for a 6th-round pick or maybe a 5th if somebody's desperate enough. And so I think that, if a team is going to trade for him, it's going to have to be worthwhile. And so the Steelers are going to ask for something worthwhile. And I think that those conversations start at a 3rd-round pick. And I don't think there's a team that's going to be out there that desperate at this point to give a 3rd-round pick for Mason Rudolph or a 4th-rounder. But those are things, and that's probably where it's going to be to move the needle on him. That's probably why Omar Khan is telling, Pat McAfee and the Pat McAfee show viewers there that there's no anticipation on moving from any of these quarterbacks, because I think the value is high there, and rightfully so. And so Steelers fan says, did Claypool showed up? Yes, he did. He had a big catch in a key moment. Like to see him stay on his feet, though. But, man, I really liked seeing him go up there, catch the ball at the highest point and come down with it, and not play for pass interference, and just play to catch the ball. And he really showed up in that moment. I did notice that he is going to be the slot guy. Pickens is going to be on the outside, and so the outside guys are going to be the X receiver is going to be Deontay. The Z opposite side, it's going to be George Pickens, and I believe Claypool is going to be our slot guy. And I think that's a good position for him. That position is going to be able to showcase his talents and his size. He's going to get some mismatches there, and it's going to really bode well for him, in my opinion. Great comment, Steelers fan. Let's see. Got a lot of comments here. Hey, how's it going, Jared Devil? Let's see. Sean Downey. Well, the O-line just good enough to get the win, and the same for the defense, which had some good stops but still needs improvement. Yeah, the defensive line does need some improvement there. Cam Hayward didn't play. Alex Highsmith still wasn't in there on the defensive line. And so when we get those 2 guys in there, I think there's going to be a little bit more improvement. But the depth does need to step up. Devin Bush, in my opinion, he's not being what he's supposed to be. He was a top 10 pick. He's supposed to be showing up, creating some kind of splash, and he's just kind of washing out at best, kind of just being there and not noticeable. The plus part of Devin Bush's game at this point is not being noticeable, because when he is noticeable, it's not very good. He got pushed around a little bit in a couple of plays. He's very, before the injury, his speed and his sideline to sideline ability and his ability to, his awareness and his just to have the impact on the play, you didn't notice how small he was. Now he's playing like he's very small, undersized, getting pushed around, and it's not looking good for him. One thing I did notice about Spillane, they kind of target him a little bit, but again, these were vanilla defenses. He doesn't have the help that you normally would have. He, in my opinion, in this coverage, played a little bit better. If the Steelers were trying to, we're playing a scheme, or we're actually doing some type of game plan against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they wouldn't be putting Spillane out there in space in the manner that they are. And in my opinion, the way he's playing, I think he is outplaying Devin Bush at this point. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, in my opinion. But hopefully Spillane can rise up to the moment and continue to play well and put up some more splash plays like he's done in the past. Yeah, Jay said absolutely no running game. It was brutal tonight. It sure was. It definitely was. Yep. Michael Malley says for a preseason game, it is what it is, vanilla on both sides of the ball. Yes, sir. I completely agree with you on that. Sorry if I mess up your name there. And Moses Sembrano says, why didn't they bring Kenny Pickett to start the fourth quarter? Well, at that point, he's already kind of cold. It's a preseason game. They're not going to try to bring him back in. And I think perhaps maybe they are showcasing Mason Rudolph, but whether or not that price tag is high or not, they're going to showcase him and see if anybody's going to bite on that third rounder. Let's see. I'm going to go through these and then we'll be calling it a show here pretty quick. While I do that, please hit that like and subscribe, guys. I'm so close to hitting 500 subscribers. If you guys would do me the favor of doing that and then also ring that notification bell. I do a weekly Monday through Friday daily segment where I give my opinion on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We also do film breakdown, have special guests this upcoming week. I believe that'll be airing out on Tuesday. I'll be having Pittsburgh Owen on the show. We'll be talking about this game and breaking down his opinions of what he saw. You don't want to miss that, so please hit that notification bell. I also do 2 weekly lives. We have a Saturday morning live and we have a post-game live where we talk about the game. You don't want to miss any of that content, so please ring that notification bell, hit that subscribe button. Let's see. We need to fix our offensive line. Yep, I completely agree. This is a great comment from Mr. Sembrano. TJ Watt will break Michael Strahan's record this season. He's only going in the right trajectory. He's going up in the right way. I feel that there's a good possibility of that. If he can stay healthy, he had a full, off season this year to also prepare and be in game shape for the upcoming season. Last year, he had the hold in because of the whole contract situation, which is another kudos to Omar Khan getting, taking care of contracts early this year, like Deontay Johnson, like Minka Fitzpatrick, not let those things linger on through the preseason and through training camp and not let these guys get in game shape. But last season, he had a groin injury that was lingering, and so he missed out on a few games. So, TJ Watt, if he can have a healthy season this year and play all 17 games, I think there's a good possibility he smashes that record. Let's see. Roquan Smith. Yeah, that would, Sean Downey, that would be, in my opinion, a good move. I know that there's a lot of talk out there that the Pittsburgh Steelers shouldn't do it because they have a lot of money on the defensive side. In my opinion, so what? Who cares? We got to bring in my opinion, at least 2 players, somebody on the offensive line and somebody maybe perhaps a middle linebacker. And defenses win championships. And if we can, if we had Roquan Smith, right next to Miles Jack, the defense would be solid. The running game wouldn't be an issue. And if we can get somebody in the interior line, whether it be a center or a guard, potentially, preferably a guard, I don't think Mason Cole is playing horrible or anything. I think he's doing a pretty decent job. Once the all 22 comes out and I can break down the film and look at them closer, I'll see if where exactly the holes were on the offense. But just kind of going back on what I remember seeing, I think he's doing a pretty fair job. I wouldn't say it's a Marquise Pouncey or Damani Dawson's level job, but he's doing enough. And so I think the Steelers need a guard, whether it's on the left side or the right side, perhaps maybe even move Dotson to the right side where he's more comfortable. I think that could be an option. And so, but because Daniels is not showing up at this point. And so I'm concerned there. But yeah, if we can, we're going to have to make a couple of splash moves. I really hope that there's a move similar to like the Joe Hayden move of a few years ago where there's a cut and the Steelers go make a surprise move, maybe for a edge rusher, maybe for a middle linebacker, maybe for somebody on the offensive line. Let's see. There it is. All righty. I just blocked those guys. And so let's see. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so with that being said, guys, let me see if there's anyone. There's Mark. Hey, how's it going, mate? My buddy from down under. Hope you're doing well. We got to get you on the show this week again. This time I won't get you hyped up on the Mike Tomlin talk, so to speak. Let's see. This will be the last comment. Bush starting is like playing with only 10 defenders. I kind of agree at this point. It's getting to that point. He's playing kind of bad. But you know, when the most positive thing about your game after a game is when he's not noticed, that's not a good sign. Not in that position. And so with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to say thank you to everybody that was in the live chat and participated. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out and ring that notification bell. I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers. We've had a victory, and let's do this again next week.